Just a few seconds more. Okay, Bismillah. I'm going to start.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We'll just give another minute or so for others to join, and then we'll make a start, inshallah. Okay. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everybody to the fourth and final religious webinar, and in fact the final webinar in the series of webinars that we have been holding this past month. Inshallah, we'll have the lecture by Shaykh Amer Jamil, who I'll introduce shortly. That will be followed by the Meet the Guides, inshallah, with the last 3 or 4 guides that we will introduce, or they will introduce themselves. And then we'll give an update on the walking stats, and it's very, very interesting stats this week. And then last few announcements and updates from myself and Ibrar, and then we'll try and close for 8 p.m. UK time, 8:15 latest, inshallah. So our speaker today, Shaykh Amer Jamil, who alhamdulillah we are fortunate enough to have traveling with us on Hajj this year as well. On the A14,000 package, he'll be flying from Manchester, and will be on the extended, the 17-day package. Shaykh Amer Jamil holds an LLB law degree from Strathclyde University and a BA Honours in Islamic Studies from the University of Wales. He spent 10 years studying the Islamic sciences, including 6 years with distinguished scholars in the Middle East, including in Syria and Yemen, and gained various teaching licenses, which we call ijaza, in various Islamic sciences. Shaykh is based in Glasgow in Scotland, and his specialization lies in Islamic family law, and is a certified NLP practitioner, and also holds a certificate in counseling. In 2009, he co-founded the Solas Foundation with Shaykh Ridwan, and with Shaykh Ridwan established the iSyllabus Islamic Studies program. And Shaykh Ridwan, you know from our very first religious webinar 4 weeks ago, will also be traveling with us, inshallah. So they both co-founded the Islam syllabus Islamic Studies program, which inshallah during Hajj and after we will share the details of for anybody who's interested. So the title of the lecture today is Before We Depart, which is very generic, and Sheikh has the freedom to uh, talk about what what he's going to address us with. He'll talk to us for about 30 minutes, inshallah. Then we'll allow maybe 5-10 minutes for any Q&A, followed by the other parts of the session, inshallah. So, Sheikh Amer, if you can come on, I'll hand it over to you, inshallah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome this evening for this final seminar before we depart for inshallah ta'ala what should be for most people a once in a lifetime journey. In the past, because obviously now we're flying in from countries and it's quite quick, to be honest. I mean, it's like 2 weeks, so 2 to 3 weeks, and people are away. But in the past, if we cast our sights into how Hajj would have been not that long ago, before you had flights and things like that, people would have been taking the ships. They would have been going by land, by animals, whether it's before vehicles, trains, obviously. And so it was actually a real lifetime journey. It wasn't a 2 week trip or a 3 week trip. It just wasn't possible because of logistics. So if you were going from the UK, let's say 300 years ago, you would have set out for Hajj a long time ago. It would sometimes take weeks or months to get there. And there would have been no internet, there would have been no WhatsApp. So, your loved ones essentially wouldn't really know what's happening until you returned. So this Hajj trip would have been one that you are doing for months. You would have taken supplies to support you for months. There's obviously dangers when you travel. There's highway robbers, etc. Lots of things can happen. You can get ill on the way. It's not like you can just go to the local hospital. So you could potentially die on this trip getting to Hajj or coming back from Hajj. And so it was very normal for people when they said their goodbyes, there was a sadness because their loved ones didn't know whether these people would come back or in what condition or what would happen. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns. And in fact, I mean, subhanAllah, I think it was 2015, I think, when I went, and there was a brother from Glasgow. He was a retired school teacher, late 60s, but he was in very good health. He was absolutely fine, didn't look his age. And I remember he was very nervous about going. He was in two minds. Shall I do it? Shall I not do it? He was, very up and down, very nervous on the way down. I remember getting the train with him from Glasgow down to Manchester. And, he'd done his Hajj and he came back to Glasgow. 2 weeks later, he passed away. And I went to and I'd never met him before. He was quite well known in Glasgow, but I'd never met him before. I went to see him. I went to do the afsos, the ta'ziyah for him, and I thought, subhanallah, what a way to pass away, 2 weeks after doing Hajj. So we don't know what is written. We don't know what is in store. So when people gave their goodbyes, it was, proper, hugs and cries because you don't know, you're not going to see this person for months. And before, obviously, you could take a journey like that, you'd have to prepare, you'd have to leave your family with provisions for months and months. And another thing that they used to do is write a will. Because again, they're like setting out, I'm going for Hajj. I don't know if I'm coming back or in what state I will come back. And also, some of them would take, because they might not ever make that journey ever again, they wouldn't be in a rush to get back. Sometimes they would stay in Makkah and Medina for a period of time before they came back, especially scholars were known for doing this so that they could benefit from the local scholars there. They would spend, a few more months. So this trip could end up being a 6 months or a year. And remember, no, are you going to send a letter maybe back home? So this was a real journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a life-changing journey. And the whole essence of the Hajj is to cut you off from your normal life. Is to take you away from your normal existence. All the things that we are used to and comfortable with, it takes all of that away. And then it takes all these kind of dunya attachments away so that you can be dunya free in a sense with God. There's no barriers between you and God. There's nothing between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's reconnecting, reigniting that spark in your heart. So this is the essence of Hajj. We are a few days away from Hajj. Some of us are leaving. I'm leaving Thursday. I'm sure some of you are leaving within a week or maybe within 10 days, but we're all leaving in this next short period. And many will be probably thinking this is a once in a lifetime journey, which inshallah, if it's done properly, it's sufficient because the Prophet ﷺ himself only did Hajj once. I'm going to give a bit of advice, which, to be honest, is advice to me, which is to pack well in advance. I haven't packed yet, by the way. Just trying to, probably like a lot of people, trying to get so many things tied up before I go. But I do have it in my mind that I need to try and free myself up and try to make my last kind of 2 days or 3 days before Hajj as free as possible. So try to pack now or in advance. Don't do the packing the night before. Okay. Try to make your last 2-3 days before you leave as schedule free as possible. Try to sleep well. Okay. This is a very practical piece of advice. The last couple of days, if you're running about and you're kind of running low on sleep and you're a bit drained, this is not going to benefit you when you get to Hajj. So you want to sleep well. Often when we get flights, we travel through the night, and by the time we get there, we miss a night's sleep. So often when we're doing Umrah, we're already fatigued. You've got jet lag, you've not slept, and so it takes actually a day or two just to recover from the actual journey. So you want to sleep well. Try not to pack last minute. Obviously, try to meet your family and friends because people will be coming over to see you, and if you're trying to pack, it just stresses you out. Asking for forgiveness, you probably see people when they go for Umrah or Hajj, they will ask you forgiveness. One of the reasons for this is that the idea that your sins get forgiven in Hajj, an accepted Hajj al-Mabrur, is like when you return the day your mother bore you. The scholars differ on whether that covers all sins or just minor sins. So most actually say it covers minor sins, and for major sins you need to do a specific tawbah, a specific repentance for that particular sin. So if you did a particular sin like drinking alcohol, for example, you need to make tawbah for that sin. And the way to do both is that during the Hajj you do the tawbah for those major sins, and so inshallah it covers you. But one of the things it doesn't cover you is for sins which have been done against other people, huquq al-ibad. And for that, you need the person that you've wronged, their forgiveness. If you've taken their money or whatever, you need to return that. So this process of asking people that you know for forgiveness is also something you want to be doing. So these are the kind of things you want to be doing. If you're too busy running around, you're not going to have the focus to do these things. And also, those last couple of days, start really thinking about the trip ahead. That, what do I want from this trip? What do I want from this trip that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed me to go on? Because as we know, innamal a'malu binniyat, actions are about intentions. So what do you intend? Because God will give you whatever you are seeking. God is generous, but it comes down to what you want. God will give you what you want. So we have to start thinking about, what are my intentions? What do I want to gain from this trip? What do I want to come back with? And so there's got to be this time of mental preparation that we have to start focusing on. And so it's not a time to start panicking about, okay, all these du'as, I need to learn them in the last 2 days. Don't try to cram or stress yourself out. If you know the du'as, fine. If you don't know the du'as, it's not a problem. Take a du'a book with you, right? There's a lot of stressing I'm seeing on WhatsApp groups where people are asking the same question over and over again, whether I can have alcohol in a lotion or something. And the thing is, look, we don't want to get you don't want to get derailed into the detail, the minute details, as I say, the devil's in the detail, right? So the devil does actually want you to focus on tiny things, minor things, and forget the essence. Okay, if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. There's ways around it. Every mistake does not necessitate a sacrifice. Often, a lot of the mistakes, you just need to give a little bit of sadaqah, and that's it. Right? It's not much, it's a few pounds. So there's nothing to be stressed about. There are going to be people there. There are going to be people who have done Hajj before, guides. There will be religious guides. So there's plenty of people to ask questions. There's plenty of people to get advice on if things when you're there. So my advice would be just to relax. Okay, relax. You should by this point have been to these Hajj seminars and learnt your fiqh or the basics of it anyway. So you should have an idea of what's happening. But Hajj is one of those things, until you actually do it, you will not know. So you can, I know this because I studied the fiqh of Hajj, but it's only when I did the Hajj and I actually saw it in practice, I realized, okay, it's not as complicated as it is when you just study the theory. So it might seem a bit daunting, all these rules and what we're doing here and what we're doing there. Don't worry about it. Everyone is going to be like a million people, whatever it is, all doing the same thing. So don't worry about it. It's this massive group of people all doing the same thing. And so you won't go wrong, insha'Allah ta'ala. The other thing is that there's plenty of time for everything, right? There's no need to panic. There's one thing I saw in the group that people were saying, oh, you can't take scissors into the haram. They're like, oh, well, how am I going to cut my hair? You should be cutting your hair in the haram anyway. Can you imagine if a million people cut their hair in the haram? What kind of mess that would create? You're not supposed to do that. You do your Umrah when you get there, and we'll come to that. You do your Umrah and then go back to a hotel room and cut your hair. And they're like, someone's saying, yeah, but my hotel room's in Azizia. It's going to take, time. So what? You're in a haram for another 2 hours. What's the big deal? It's not. There's no rush. There is no rush to get out of your ihram. You just have to be careful that you don't pay any scent on. But you're in the haram. You're not going to be, you won't have a bottle of perfume anyway that you're squirting on yourself. So there's no reason to rush. There is no rush. We're not in a rush. We're there to enjoy the experience. There's no rush. Okay. Now things to keep in mind. So that's the kind of prep that we want to look at. Things to keep in mind is that we will most likely, for most people, they will be doing tamattu. Tamattu basically means you're doing your Umrah separately and your Hajj separate. In other words, there's 3 ways of doing it. Either you just go straight there and do Hajj and that's it. Most people probably won't do that. Most people do tamattu. Tamattu basically means when we put our ihram on from here and we go there, we'll do Umrah. Once we've done Umrah, we come out of ihram. We just go back to normal and we wait until the 8th day and then we put the ihram on again. And then this time we intend Hajj and that's it. And then that's how you do it. Qiran is you join the two, you do Umrah and Hajj, but you stay in Ihram, which is very difficult because you'd be in Ihram for a long period of time. And then the potential for penalties is higher and it can be quite uncomfortable as well. So majority of people will be doing tamattu, and that's what probably most people who have been before will recommend to you. And so you have to just bear in mind that before we get to Saudi, you have to be in a state of Ihram. It is a state you're in. It's not the sheets. The sheets are called Ihram sheets. They're not the Ihram. Ihram is a state that you're in. And what does that mean? It means that certain things become haram on you, right? So you can't wear stitched clothing if you're a male, you can't wear perfume. If you're a female, you can't wear niqab. You know, certain things become prohibited. Just like in Salah, when we say Allahu Akbar, it's called Takbiratul Ihram, right? We do the takbir, and what happens when you do the takbir? Certain things become haram. Like what? Like eating and drinking. I can't eat and drink in Salah. I can't turn my face away from the Qibla, right? So certain things become prohibited because at this point in time, I'm focused. My focus is supposed to be God. So I'm going into a state which is not my normal state. Before I could eat, drink, I can do whatever I want. As soon as I say Allahu Akbar, I've gone to a different state because now I'm conversing with God. Similarly, in Ihram, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting us into a state which is an intimate state with Him. So it's taking you away from your norm. So you're basically, it's saying to you, you're not in a normal state anymore. You're in a state of worship. So the Ihram is a state. So you can put your sheets on in advance, no problem, right? And then before you land in Saudi by an hour or so, before we get to Jeddah, half an hour before we land Jeddah, I'd say an hour to be safe, you do two things. You make your intention. So most people, if they're doing Umrah, they say, I intend to do Umrah. If you're doing it for yourself, if you're doing it for someone else, on behalf of someone else, you'd say, I'm doing Umrah for such and such a person. And then the second thing is talbiyah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. As soon as you do those two things, you are now in a state of ihram. You're in a state of ihram. So you do not want to go into a state of ihram until you have to, which is like an hour before Jeddah. No, there's no reason to go into ihram in Manchester or London or whatever, right? You can put your sheets on, right? But you go into the state of ihram near the time. So you need to make sure if you're going to be putting the ihram on in the plane that you have it in your hand luggage. I remember that well, I know people who have forgotten to take the ihram sheets with them, landed in Jeddah and realized, oops, I don't have my ihram. So they've always say wearing stitched clothing, and there's going to be a penalty for that. So you want to make sure you got your ihram in your hand luggage and your flip-flops in your hand luggage. If you're menstruating, you also go into ihram. Every single person going should be going into ihram, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're menstruating, you still go into ihram. Menstruation does not stop you from going into ihram. The only thing that stops you from doing is doing tawaf. Okay? But you still go into ihram. And then as soon as you're in a state of ihram, obviously there's certain things which are prohibited. And so you need to be careful of things like the airplane meal, they have the refresher, which is usually got lemon scent, things like that. Anything with scent, you want to stay away from it. So because it's habit, you have to be careful. It's very normal for us to go into the hotel and freshen up and just go to the bathroom and get the soap out and start washing our hands with soap. So you have to just be a bit more alert with that. And you can have what do you call these things? The gel, antibacterial gel, fragrance free. That's what I use when I'm in ihram. So we will land in Jeddah, go through Jeddah, and then we're on to Makkah. We get to Makkah, we will check in, and then as a group normally we will go down to the Haram and we will do our Umrah. Umrah is very simple. We're going to go down. Usually it's good to go with somebody who's done it before. So whatever group you're in, usually you have a few people who have done it before. They'll be at the front. Everyone just want to follow. And also when you get to the Haram, just before you go in, it's always good to turn around and just check where your hotel is. So okay, the clock tower is usually a good sign. So from the clock tower, where's my hotel? Just in case you get lost and you need to know how to get back. So you go into the Haram, you're going to do Tawaf. After Tawaf, you read 2 rak'ahs. Then you drink Zamzam, and then you do Safa Marwa, Sa'i. That's it. You've done your Umrah. Couple of hours and your Umrah's done. You don't have to cut your hair there and then. When you're ready, you go back to your hotel, go to the barbers. Sisters can cut their hair in their rooms, What I say to sisters is don't just cut. I mean, you're supposed to cut like an inch. I say cut 2 inches. The reason for that is because the hair is of different lengths. And often people think they have cut enough, but they haven't because they've only cut like an inch. I mean, obviously, there's different opinions in the schools because even the Shafi school, a few hairs is enough. But if you're like, for example, a Hanafi, it has to be a hair from a quarter, at least quarter of the head. It's always good to cut a little bit more. And don't worry, you can always, get a haircut when you come back. It'll grow back, inshallah. So that's it. You've done your Umrah. Now you can go into your own normal clothes and then you just enjoy your time in the Haram, prayers, and that's it. Another really important thing here is to not exert yourself too much, right? Because if you're there for, say, like I'm going to be there for almost a week, if you're going to be there for a week and you start like trying to do tawaf all the time, there was a brother I remember one year who kept doing Umrah, but by the time I think 4 or 5 days into it, his leg is swollen up. So what you want, it's all about peaking at the right time. You want to peak during the days of Hajj. You've come for Hajj, not for Umrah. So you want to make sure that when the 8th day comes, the 9th day comes, you are at your peak energy, everything, because you want to go for it on that day, the day of Arafah. If you're exhausted by that time, you're not going to be able to push yourself. And I remember a brother on the day of Arafah slept for most of it because he was just, it was just too tired. So your Umrah is going to take out you a little bit, a couple of days to recover from that, or days, let's say a day to recover from that. And then don't exert yourself too much. It's going to be very rushed. Do your 5 daily prayers, do your ibadah, your Quran and reading up on your Hajj and all that kind of stuff. But don't exert yourself too much. You want to reserve your energy. Make sure don't get yourself ill before the days of Hajj. So that is it. And then obviously in the 8th day, we will all move to Mina together and we'll have regular reminders to tell us what to do. So there's no need to panic too much about what we're going to be doing. There's plenty of time, inshallah. And remember, this when we're saying labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, right? We are saying that we are here, we're at your service, oh my Lord. And this has a story behind it, which is that when Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered to build the Kaaba, as you know, with his son Ismail, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him to call people to this house for worship. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, you can imagine at that time there's hardly anyone there. He says, how are people, how's my voice going to reach people? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, just look, your job is to make the call, and my job is to bring the people. So Ibrahim climbs, they say, the Mount of Arafah, and he called out in as loud as he could, O people, indeed Allah has prescribed upon you Hajj, so perform Hajj. Right, so he makes the call, and that's why in Surah Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and proclaim to mankind the Hajj. So you call them, and they'll come to you on foot, on camel, from every deep and distant mountainway highway. They'll come from all over the place, from different places. They will all merge, and we see this miracle happening every year now. People merging all from different parts of the world. So when we're saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik, I'm saying you're actually responding to that call of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and you're saying, Ya Allah, I'm here. You called me, I'm here. So it's a huge honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called us to his house. We make dua that from now until we go, there's no mishaps, there's no obstacles in the way, and we get there. Remember, the difficulties maybe you might face, maybe you've already faced difficulties. That is part and parcel of this whole journey. It's not supposed to be made easy, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has got a plan for every single individual, and everyone's going to be tested in their own way. There's going to be a certain element of difficulty because you have to earn, God's paradise. We know that it's through exertion, through effort that we gain something, isn't it? And so if you want God's forgiveness, there's got to be a means for him to forgive you. So all these difficulties that we put up with patience, without, getting involved in fighting and arguing, quarreling, and all this kind of stuff, all of that is going to, inshallah, be rewarded. And we've been told specifically about Hajj, فَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. We need to stay away from argumentation, from obscene talk, quarreling, all of that stuff. So you will get tested, and you have to be patient, inshallah, because we don't want to ruin that experience. It's going to be a once in a lifetime. We don't want to ruin it in any shape or form. And so this journey of Hajj is all about us journeying back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and going back to our essence of existence. What is the essence of why are we on this earth? Is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this whole journey, it's almost like your recalibration, your refocusing. So it's there to refocus you. Listen, this is what you're here for. This is your real purpose in life. This is what your focus has got to be. So we get detached from the world, we get detached from the dunya, our family, our everything, and we get brought to God's house, and we're all there, and we're all calling on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're all making dua. And this is the whole point of it, is to say, look, this is your focus, is God. It's the worship of Allah. This is your purpose of your life. And when you go back home, when you return, you need to keep this at the core of your heart, that my existence and my life is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's a little book, which is a very good book. I would highly recommend people to read up. It's not long. It's called The Inner Dimensions by Imam Ghazali. You can probably even find a PDF online somewhere. But the section on Hajj, it's a very short section, but basically what he's doing is he's trying to give you the inner dimension. He's trying to give you the significance of each of the acts of Hajj. Like, what is this? What's the Tawaf teaching us? What's the Safa Marwa teaching us? What's the day of Arafah, all of us being there? What's that teaching us? All of that, he says, is symbolic, and it's teaching us something. So that's something, again, you want to be doing this before you get to Hajj, not when you're there. So that's something, inshallah, that everyone, a little bit of homework that everyone can do. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this a blessed journey for all of us. And inshallah ta'ala, we should all be looking forward to being there all together, inshallah, very soon. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslim kathira. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Amer. Before we move to Q&A, there are some questions which have come up. Just going back to what you said about the brother, I remember actually the brother that you mentioned from Glasgow, he was actually opposite me in the tent in Mina. I think from memory, he was traveling on his own. He wasn't with
That's right,
you.
yeah. No, he wasn't. He was by himself, yeah.
Yeah, and he passed away, I think, 2 to 3 weeks after Hajj, as you mentioned. And I remember somebody was mentioning about packing, like we do, we give advice about, people packing for Hajj and all of this. And it came to my mind, subhanAllah, when he was packing, he was also packing for his akhirah.
SubhanAllah.
So he was doing his Hajj and doing his all of this. So he was preparing for his akhirah. And that's why when we say journey to Allah, like you mentioned, it's literally for him, it was a journey to Allah. And subhanAllah, he went straight after 2 weeks after Hajj. SubhanAllah. So yeah, I remember 2015, 16,
15. It's 15, yeah.
15,
Yeah.
yeah. SubhanAllah. Also, Imam Ghazali, the Hajj section, I think we have it as a PDF. So I'll ask Ibra to share it on the groups that Shaykh Amer has mentioned, so you can have a read of that, inshallah. Couple of questions, Sheikh, that have come from the chat. They're related to, okay, not specific, the more fiqh related questions. So during tawaf, if we lose wudu, do we need to stop the tawaf, do wudu and resume, or do we just continue the tawaf without wudu?
Yeah, so the wudu is a condition. So basically, if you've done, let's say you've done 3 circuits and you break your wudu, you would just stop where you are, go and do wudu, and just come back and resume from that point. If you're not sure, just go back a little bit and just do another 4. There's actually now, never used to be, but there actually now is a place to do wudu inside, near the Kaaba, for males and females. It's actually not that far. It's kind of if you between the black stone and the Yemeni stone, it's kind of in that direction. If you go to the back, and you probably just ask somebody, one of the guards or something, they'll probably direct you. So you don't have to go outside now, inshallah.
So we continue from number 3 or 4, wherever people have stopped from. We don't start from number 1.
No.
Yeah. One sister was asking, is it okay to go with the clothes that are already washed with the washing liquid that have a smell, and you wear the ihram on the airplane?
Yeah, that's fine.
So maybe.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, look, all your clothes that you wear are going to have been washed anyway. So there can be some, maybe kind of it's not going to be very strong anyway. It's going to be some light, lingering kind of smell. That's fine.
The name of the book that you mentioned, the one that explains every significance of every act and meaning, that's Inner Dimensions of Islamic Worship.
Yeah,
Right.
Inner Dimension of Islamic Worship.
So we'll share the PDF, the section on Hajj. We have it, so we'll share it on the Telegram groups, inshallah. That's the 2 questions that people have asked. For those that are intending to go to Medina first, because there's a group that will go to Medina, I think the other groups will go to Mecca. Would you recommend for us to fast because we will be in the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah?
I think it's a personal choice. However, it comes down to the individual. You'll know yourself. If you are that type of person, you do Monday, Thursdays, and are very regular, and it's not a problem. That's different. If you don't normally fast, I think it will be difficult personally because it's hot. Remember, you're traveling as well. There's a certain amount that is the travel element, and then it's hot as well. And then you don't want to be depleted by the time you get to Makkah. So it's all about, making sure that you don't exhaust yourself before the days of Hajj. So it comes down to the person. If they're quite keen, they can always try one and see how how that went. But I would say that as a general rule, I would say if they don't normally fast, I would leave it, personally speaking.
Okay, can I wear a surgical mask during Ihram? I don't have a condition that requires it, but I want to wear it as a protective measure, as a precaution.
I think if well, it's a bit of a tricky question because the thing is, during COVID, it was different. It was mandatory. But I think now, because it's not a mandatory thing, the argument would be medically, is it a medical necessity? If it's a medical necessity, it's a different question. But if it's just like it's not a medical necessity, I'm just doing it anyway. I'm not 100% sure if that would be a sufficient enough excuse. I mean, there might be different opinions on it, but I'm not sure if that'd be a sufficient excuse if there's no medical necessity. And also the amount of people that are there wearing the mask, I'm not sure if it will actually protect you that much. I'm not a doctor, but they can ask the medical people if that is really that effective anyway.
After the first tahallul, can we wear our normal clothes?
Yeah, okay.
So
Yes,
I
you
think this
can.
is the day of
Yes.
Eid. Yeah.
Yeah.
The shaving of the hair.
Yeah, after you're shaving your hair, you can go into your normal clothes, yeah.
General question, what book of dua do you recommend for Hajj?
Any book of dua is fine. There's the one that Shaykh Ridwan mentioned in the first lecture, which was by Nurdin Itar. That comes with, I don't know if it comes with it, but he's
Yeah,
got
it
two.
does.
It comes with it, yeah. So it's got the kind of book which gives you the fiqh readings, but it comes with a smaller book which gives you the du'as. So I would say that's probably a good one.
Yeah, and I think we've shared that previously in the Telegram groups, so you can check that out. I am doing my father's Hajj, but when I land in Jeddah, can I do my own personal Umrah rather than my father's?
That's a very good question, actually. Because you're right. If you're doing Hajj on his behalf, it's basically just the Hajj, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing is that when you're doing Hajj for another person, it would be the Hajj. I would say it's the Hajj element because the Umrah is kind of separate. But I would say if you're doing Hajj for him, he says passed away and he didn't do Hajj, I would also do the Umrah for him as well. And inshallah, when you do that act, when you're doing the Hajj for him, you're getting reward anyway. So by you doing the Umrah for him, inshallah, the hope is that you get the reward of Umrah anyway. So I would just do the Umrah intention for him as well. And inshallah, that's a good sadaqah for you to do that for him.
Inshallah. And two questions we had from our session previously, the admin session. Somebody was asking about any guidance or advice on the reading the two sunnah of Ihram, or the two nafil of Ihram, how or when to do that.
So in an ideal situation, you want to do the two nafil at the time just before you go into Ihram. So like the people that are going to Medina, when they leave Medina to go to Makkah, they'll go into Ihram, they pray two rak'ahs, get in the bus, and then they go into a state of Ihram. But for us, if we're coming from flights and stuff, there's an issue of whether we're in a state of wudu, you're trying to get your ihram on, there's lots of things happening. I would then do your nafil, before that. Like say, when you leave your home, do your two nafil. And then if at the time when you're going to go into a state of ihram, if you still got wudu, then fine, do the two nafil. And if you don't, inshallah, it's not a condition anyway. And your intention was that you would have done it had the facilities been there, you'll get the reward, inshallah.
Yeah. And just to reiterate, as the Shaykh mentioned, this is nafil, it's optional, it's not a condition of Ihram. So if it's possible, then yes. Otherwise, don't think you should stress over it,
Yeah.
inshallah. And one of the question we had about praying on the plane. Obviously, when we're flying, there will be time for salah. What is the process? What do we do if it's time for salah comes and we are on the plane?
So my personal advice is that, so for example, like our group, we're going our flights at 10 to 3. My personal advice would be join your prayers, Dhuhr and Asr, before you get on the plane. So Dhuhr comes in at 1:15. So from 1:15, you pray two rak'ahs of Dhuhr and Asr. That's you done. And before you get on the plane, if you get a chance to redo your wudu, do so. And then when you are on the plane, there's a couple of options. I mean, when you get to Jeddah, it'll be, I think, 1 o'clock in the morning, is it right? I think
People
so.
land at different times, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're landing roughly about 1. And what time's Fajr there in Makkah? Is it 4, 5?
Something like that. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
people will arrive at different times and traveling, yeah.
Yeah, so there's two options there. One is that you land at 1 o'clock and you've got a couple of hours before Fajr comes in. And when you go through after you've gone through the kind of visa bit, and people are just kind of waiting to go and get their bags because that takes time. People getting their bags, standing about. There's actually toilets there. So I did Umrah in November. That's what we did. So it was Fajr time by the time we got there, and we went through. People were obviously waiting to get bags. That takes a good half an hour, everyone getting their bags. There was toilets there. We just did wudu there, and we just prayed in the corner and did our Fajr. So that's one way of doing it. Or the other thing is Saudi Airlines there will be a place at the back of the plane. And as soon as it gets dark outside, so you can look outside, as soon as it gets dark, you will know Maghrib is coming. I would then just go and pray Maghrib and Isha together, and then that's you done, especially if you've got wudu. So you've got two options really. Either you can, if you've got wudu and you look outside and it's dark and you think, right, I've got my wudu, it's dark, I'm going to go and pray, go to the back, pray your three rak'ahs Maghrib, two Isha, and that's you done. If you've not got your wudu and you're, it's going to be a hassle trying to do wudu in a plane, which it is, I would then say, and your plane's not delayed or something, when you get to Jeddah and you go through the visa bit and everyone's waiting for their bags, just go and do wudu then in the toilets, pray your three rak'ahs Maghrib and two for Isha, and by that time everyone's got their bags and that's it. You're away, and then by the time you get to Makkah, it'll be probably time for Fajr.
Inshallah. One question somebody's asked about Hajj Qiran, Hajj Tamattu. See, we're going to go through all of the different options and what people should do, inshallah, in Medina. We'll have our pre-Hajj seminar in Medina, and we'll go through all of these questions, inshallah. So nothing to worry about. There's plenty of time.
And that's for the people in Medina first, but
that's people going to Medina first, yes.
Yeah.
And the different options, whether it's Qiran, Ifrad, whether there'll be time about Hajj Tamattu. I remember we had a very, very extensive web seminar last year. So we'll do the same again, inshallah. So make sure all the options are clear for everybody, inshallah, so you can make an informed decision. During the state of Ihram, if any hair falls in unintentionally from any part of our body, do we have to pay a penalty, especially if we shower?
Unintentional is okay. If it just comes off by itself, then that's fine. It's when you have caused it, that's when there's an issue. And it's just a bit of sadaqah. It's not like a sacrifice or anything like that you need to give. And sadaqah, we're talking like 20 reals or something. It's not like a huge amount.
And can you give that, for example, to the cleaners in the haram or something?
It's supposed to be given to the poor. So whoever there'll be this either beggars or there's like, I think there's also places in the haram that you can give sadaqah to. The other thing is, remember, this sadaqah doesn't have to be given in Makkah or Medina. It can be given anywhere at any time. The only thing is the sacrifice. If you do a penalty which demands a sacrifice, that has to be done there. But not at the time. You can do it later, but it has to be done. It's space specific. But sadaqah is not space specific. You can give it to Gaza, for example. So you could, if you tally up how many sadaqahs you've got, say it comes to 200 reals, and you think, right, I'm going to give that to Gaza, just go online and give it to Gaza.
And can you do that when you come back after Hajj, or does it have to be during the days of?
No, you can do it after Hajj, yeah.
So just to expand on that as well, for people, as Shaykh mentioned before, we're going to have religious scholars with us, inshallah, during the Hajj, full duration of the Hajj. So don't stress out over any tiny thing that's happened, that you have to give a sacrifice or whatever. They are readily available. So ask them, come to them, and inshallah they'll be able to give you the right answer. So it's nothing to worry yourselves about, inshallah. For Hajj Tamattu, for Umrah, is the intention only for Umrah or both Umrah and Hajj?
So Tamattu basically means you are doing Umrah and Hajj, but you're doing them separate. So when you, like, say the Manchester lot, right, we're going to Tamattu. When you go into a state of Ihram, all you're going to do is say, I'm doing Umrah. I intend to do Umrah. That's it. You're not intending to do Hajj. You intend to do Umrah. You're going to get to Makkah, do your Umrah, come out of your Ihram. On the 8th day, you'll put your Ihram. You're going to stay of Ihram again. And this time you say, I'm intending to do Hajj. So the first time when you're doing Umrah, you don't say Umrah and Hajj. Umrah and Hajj is Qiran. That's when you do both together. You're going to do Umrah and Hajj, but you're going to stay in Ihram. You would say, I'm intending to do Umrah and Hajj. That's called Qiran. If you do Tamattu, it means you're separating the two. It's easier because you can come out of Ihram. which is why most people do it. So you do Umrah first, come out of Ihram. So you're just going to make the intention of Umrah, come out of Ihram. Later on, you're going to make the intention of Hajj when you go into the days of Hajj. And Ifrad is basically, there's no Umrah. You're just saying, I'm doing Hajj, and that's it.
Mhm. Okay, we are going to Medina first, but we'll change flight in Jeddah. Do we need to be in a state of Ihram because we're stopping in Jeddah?
If your destination is Medina, no, you're okay.
Mm. So the Ihram only comes once we depart Medina for Mecca,
Yeah, from Makkah, from Medina
Medina to Mecca.
to Makkah. If you're passing through towards that way, then as far as I
Yeah,
remember, you're not going to be in Ihram.
yeah. This is turning into a, looking at the questions, a very long fiqh session. So I'm going to ask these questions very quickly, and then we'll make a stop because we have to make other announcements. So if we make wudu at home and I need to do it again at the airport, do I need to wash my feet, or is there a simpler way to do it?
If you did wudu at home and then you have to do wudu again in the
Yeah,
airport.
do I need to wash my feet?
If you're the thing is, if you're wearing flip-flops, then yes, you would. If you're wearing socks, there's different opinions among scholars. But if you're wearing like a sealskin type of sock, which is like a waterproof type of sock, you can just wipe on the sock. In the Hanbali school, if you're wearing a thick sock, which is you can't see the color of your skin, there's no holes in it, like a medium thick size sock, then you can wipe on that. Or if you've got like boots on, like leather boots on or something, you can wipe on that. But if you've just got like tights, or if you don't have socks on, then you'd have to wash your feet.
Mm. Um, just going back to the question about praying on the plane, could we do that sitting down, or does it have to be standing up? During its
Generally,
farad.
yeah, generally, I mean, what the general principle is, you pray standing if you can't, then you pray sitting. If you can't, then you do it in your seat, which is normally, I mean, most flights now, you probably end up having to pray in your seat because of the type of planes they have. However, I believe that Saudi is slightly better in that regard. Saudi actually has a small space at the back of the plane where it's actually specifically for prayer. So you actually have space for about 2, 3 people to pray at a time. Is that correct? I mean, that's what I remember. I don't know if that's
Yeah, there is space. It does, just to add to that, it does get very busy.
Mm.
So you have to keep that in mind. And also, it can be disturbing for the airline staff who are trying to serve food and walk around and telling people to. It can be health and safety hazard. So you have to play it by ear, see how busy it is. But yeah, there is an open space, let's say, at the back of the plane in the Saudi planes.
Yeah, and if you're in like Emirates or other I don't know what other planes are going, like the Turkish Airlines.
Turkish. Yeah.
Yeah, then you would probably just pray in your seat because there'll be no space to pray. Then you just pray in your
Mm,
seat.
inshallah. There was a question about will there be guides for the Umrah groups? Yes, inshallah. What the plan is, once we arrive into the hotels, we'll check in. We'll, depending on if it's time for breakfast or dinner or whatever, we'll decide on a time to meet. And then we'll normally split up the group into smaller groups of 15, 20 people. And we'll take either a guide from the group or somebody who's done Umrah before, and then we'll all go down together to the Haram, and then we'll set off on our way. So there will be somebody, might not necessarily be a guide from the group, but somebody who has done Umrah before many times to, inshallah, start the Umrah with. And one thing to remember, and this is not something that you should be worried about, is very difficult for 15, 20, 25 people to stay together throughout the whole of Umrah. And it could be that even in the first round of Tawaf, you lose the guide. And what we say, not to worry, carry on what you're doing. Before we start the Umrah, we explain, okay, what the process is. And more often than not, you actually meet up with your guide during the Tawaf or later on during the Sa'i, or or the other places in the Haram. So it's nothing to worry about if you lose your guide. Yes, we will start off together. You carry on your Umrah, and then inshallah you just follow whatever everybody else is doing. So yes, we'll start off with a guide, inshallah. After the stoning of the Jamarat and Tawaf and Sa'i, how do we get notified of the Hadi if we book via the Adahi app? Will it be in time to cut our hair, exit Ihram before returning to Mina? Yes, there'll be time to cut the hair and do Tawaf and Sa'i before we return to Mina. Regarding the notification, I would have to get back to you. There will probably be some sort of an email or a text message. I think we received an SMS last year, but I'd have to double check. This is through the Adahi app. So I'll have to double check, inshallah. Last question we'll take is, as far as I'm aware, traveling up to 15 days, you read a shortened salah. Does that rule apply to our days in Mecca and Medina?
I think for most, that's obviously a Hanafi. For most people, the way their packages are, I think all the dome ones anyway, you will be a traveler because you're not intending to stay in Mecca for more than 15 days. So, like, I think I'm one of the earliest ones. We're there for a week before we move to Mina. So you're not going to be staying for 15 days in Mecca straight. So you'll be a traveler. When you get to the Haram, obviously, whenever you pray behind the Imam, you're going to pray the full prayer anyway. It's just if you miss the prayer for whatever reason, then you would pray qasr, you'd pray 2 rak'ahs. And then obviously once you travel to Medina, again, you're a traveler again because you're going to be travel distance. Makkah to Medina is travel distance, and then you're only there for a few days. So the way the packages are working, everyone's a traveler according to the Hanafi school.
Inshallah. Okay, we'll leave it there. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Amer. If you can stay with us till the end, we'll just finish off with a very, very short dua. In the meantime, very quickly, we'll do a meet the guides. So we have Zubair, Nora, Usama, and Lutfi. So Zubair, if you can just, if you're there, introduce yourself, say a few words, and then give one piece of advice to the Hajjaj who are listening.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Zubair Alvi, and I've been to Hajj many times, alhamdulillah, with Dome Tours. So I'm quite an experienced guide. And inshallah, I will be accompanying the A14,000 from London Heathrow. So inshallah, I'll be looking forward to meeting all of you when you get to Heathrow. And then when we get to Makkah, inshallah, we'll catch up with the other A14,000 group with Shaykh Amer from Manchester, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, looking forward to it. And I haven't started packing either, like Shaykh Amer mentioned. But I do suggest that you start because you don't want to be running about, like you said, in the last few days before leaving. You want to try and be prepared beforehand. And the sleep that Shaykh Amer also mentioned is incredibly important because the last thing you want to do is by the time you get there for Umrah and everything like that, you're exhausted because you've had a lack of sleep leading up to the leaving for Hajj. So make sure that inshallah you get to bed on time, make sure that you are rested well enough before you get there. One last piece of advice that I would give, and again, Shaykh Amer Jamil mentioned this just very briefly, but I'd like to expand on it, is when it comes to things like social media. Unfortunately, I'm a secondary school teacher, and one of the most difficult things that our students find is how to handle their addiction to social media. So they are constantly watching YouTube shorts, they're on Snapchat, they're watching TikTok videos. And for us as teachers, we're constantly in a battle with them to try and tell them to reduce their screen time and come off the screen and do other things. And sadly, this also applies to us as well. Us as adults, we also succumb to the same problems when it comes to social media addiction and constantly being online and constantly being on a screen. So I think one of the most important things for Hajj is to detox, not just spiritually, but also physically get away from these kind of apps and things that are constantly drawing you in. And subhanAllah, it's like the Shaykh said, we're only there for what, 2 weeks at most, or just over 2 weeks. And so for that time, my main piece of advice would be that when you're there, try and limit yourself from constantly being online. We are in touch with our families back home on WhatsApp, and there's nothing wrong with being in touch with them, but giving them constant updates and selfies and stuff like that is not really the purpose that you're there for. So try and limit your online time as much as possible, and just focus. And to be honest, you can replace it with either reading Quran on your phone or even watching religious videos if you like. But better still, try and get some reading material. Make sure that you have access to Quran, and just do dhikr of Allah as much as you can. And don't, I mean, the last thing you want to do really is to come back from Hajj, and then you think to yourself, "Oh my God, I wasted so much time just browsing online and stuff like I would normally do back home." So that's one of the things that I would advise all of you to try and limit your online screen time during the Hajj.
Inshallah, very important advice. Okay, Zubair. See you tomorrow,
Okay.
inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Salam.
Inshallah.
Oh,
Nora, if you are there, just unmute yourself. Yep.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Salam.
My name is Nora. I'll be amongst the female buyers across the packages. I've been Hajj before. I'm looking forward to meeting you all, inshallah. My advice I would give to everyone is to stay hydrated and don't overeat.
You're breaking up, Nora. If you can go somewhere, your reception
Oh.
isn't clear. So I think you said stay hydrated and don't overeat. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the best advice. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's good. No one's actually mentioned that before from our guide, so that's very important. And I think one of the videos that we made, we said that about pacing yourself as well as physically, but also spiritually and all of that. But yeah, practically when it comes to food and drink, that's very important, especially during the days of Hajj, during the days we're in Mina and Arafat and Muzdalifah.
Yeah, because of the food, there's so much food, isn't it? So it's something that it's so easy to do. Is to overeat.
Yeah.
So watch what you're eating. Yeah.
Just to let everybody know, Sister Nora is actually a personal trainer, so she has very good experience on hopefully nutritional side of things, and also when it comes to pacing yourself physically. So hopefully everybody, not just the sisters, will benefit from your advice as well. Okay, thank you, Nora. Lutfi or Osama, did I say? Lutfi, your video's on, so we'll take you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Abdurrahman Lutfi, known by Lutfi, so no one get confused by the other Abdurrahman, the boss. I have been with Dom Tours for over 10 years now, and I will be combining D3000, inshallah. And we'll be all together, inshallah. We'll be serving all of you in Mecca during the Hajj days. My colleagues already covered most of the points that worth mentioning. However, I have a couple of points that as we're approaching the departure, some of us less than a week before departure, try to be early at the airports. If you're coming from a city different from the city you're flying from, try to find arrive a night before. Last year, we had a case where there was an accident on M4, so people got delayed. So try to arrive and plan your journey ahead. Stay with family or friends, or you book a hotel near the airports if needed. The other points that worth mentioning: bring your passports. We've seen cases that people turn up to the airport without their passports. I remember a case of a family of 4. Unfortunately, they missed their Hajj because they couldn't find the passport, and they found it 2 days later in the wardrobe. So make sure you know where is your passport. Other points is take a printed copy of your visa and your passport in case they may ask for it at the train station, especially for the visa copy. Just they didn't ask for it last year, but they may ask for it. Just print a copy of your visa just to take it with you. I would love to stress on the point of rest. Don't get yourself exhausted, especially for those who are planning to do second or third Umrah. From my experience, it's not worth it. There are a couple of brothers. I remember one who did 3 Umrah. By the time Hajj approached, he was completely ill. So try to save your energy to the Hajj dates, which is the aim goal for everyone. My last piece of advice is, as Sister Nora mentioned, not to overeat. Abdurrahman last week said there was the good points, everyone mentioning the bad points. The good thing, that the last thing you need to worry about is the food. During the hotel is half board, in the camp is full board. So don't get tempted and try to eat less and stay healthy. Inshallah, I'll be waiting for you, inshallah, all of you in Mecca and Medina. And I would be honored to help and serve you all, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Lutfi is a man of many years of experience, so he's given some very crucial practical advice. At least each one of those.
I just wanted to, sorry, I wanted to add the last comment of the one mentioned, is that this is part of the test as well for Hajj. To
eating
eat
less.
less.
Yeah. In fact, am I right in saying in the Umrah it's full board, not half board?
Yes,
so
that
extra test for you
so that's
guys.
that's an extra test, yeah, having lunch as well. So but yeah, I was saying Lutfi is a man of many years of experience, alhamdulillah. So each one of those advices is very important. And Lutfi, for those brothers, especially going to Medina first, like the D3000 package, Lutfi inshallah will be going to Medina the night before.
Inshallah, yes. I will
And
arrive.
he'll be arranging all the hotel keys, and he'll be welcoming us, inshallah, when we are arriving. So,
yeah,
inshallah, he'll be.
I will ask for those who are arriving from custom flights, arriving. Some of them
Yes.
arriving 12 hours, 14 hours before check-in. Please, if you don't have any plan for alternative accommodation, just be patient. They check in not before 5 p.m. So we have brothers and sisters arriving 8 in the morning, some of them 5 in the morning. So just be patient with us. We'll try to, if there is any opportunity to get the keys, get the check-in early, we'll do, inshallah.
Inshallah. And we'll share the details, inshallah, of Lutfi's number or Telegram. I think he'll be available on Telegram, so you can be in touch, inshallah. Okay, last but not least, Sama.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So yeah, there has been, my name is Osama Zayat. I'm based in Cologne, Germany, but I'll be joining, inshallah, the various D packages with the Dome Tours this year, inshallah. So I'm looking forward to accompanying you on this, hopefully to a journey to remember and a journey of a lifetime. And there's been so many useful and helpful reminders over these past weeks and days already by Abdul Wahid, Abdurrahman, and the previous advices from other guides. But there is one specific advice that I want to share with you guys before setting off on this journey, inshallah. And that is to, and that's an advice that I got last year when setting off to Hajj, and that is to set very specific and personal goals for yourself to achieve during this Hajj. Because being focused and having these specific goals set for yourself will allow you to be even more spiritually focused and immersed into this journey, and you'll be able to, inshallah, enjoy this beautiful journey of a lifetime even more. And as Hajj is, inshallah, going to be a fresh start for all of us, and we'll return as newborns. I think it's very important to formulate these goals for yourselves, to set these goals for yourself so that you can stick by them and hold yourself accountable in some way. You might ask yourself, what are these goals, or what are you talking about specifically? Might be anything really that comes to you or your life. May it be the adhkar that Uncle Abdurrahman mentioned regularly. May it be your daily dose of Quran, your daily prayers, your qiyam al-layl, good habits that you want to incorporate in your daily routine, other bad habits that you want to get rid of, good deeds, seeing your family, your friends, keeping Salat al-Rahim alive, and so it might be whatever really. And speaking of these habits and these increased ibadat and a more focused spiritual state that you might find yourself in, I think it's very important to begin with these before Hajj, with these new ways of life before Hajj, establish them during Hajj, because you're going to be very, very focused and spiritually aware during these days of Hajj. And by that, inshallah, you'll be able to maintain them after Hajj, because in my opinion, and from what everybody else also tells you, after Hajj, you're going to be on a spiritual high. You're going to be in a state that you've probably never found yourself in before. And it's important and it's crucial to keep that momentum going, So you want to keep that going for as long as possible, inshallah, and just keep that good energy with you. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys in Mecca, inshallah. تقبل الله منا ومنكم صالح الأعمال والطاعات, and be safe, inshallah. جزاكم الله خيرا.
Jazakallah khair, Osama. Very important advice again. Just for reminders, are you flying from Germany, or are you coming to the UK? You don't know yet.
It's not exactly said yet, but most likely from Germany. Yeah, inshallah.
Inshallah. The way we work as guides, sometimes last minute things change. We could be flying from a different country, so we're always on standby. Alhamdulillah.
You got to be flexible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's it for the second part, which was meet the guides. We have two more things left. The part that you've all been waiting for, which is the walking stats, and I will share the latest update. And there we have it. A14,000 still on top, but just by 11 steps, if I'm reading that right. Alhamdulillah, 8,180 daily steps, and D3000, 8169 daily steps. Subhanallah. So almost it's neck and neck. So by miles, obviously D3000 on top by far, but we have many more participants. Brothers Abdul Latif, Saeed also, mashallah, almost 27,500 steps. Sister Shaista, again, I think her name came up last week, and then also Brother Moiz, his name came up last week as well. So alhamdulillah, an amazing effort by everybody. And may Allah reward you all for each of your steps and the miles. And as Faz mentioned last week or on Tuesday, that we'll try and keep this running until the day before our first departure, which is the 6th of June. We'll send a last update, and then we'll keep the app or the records running even during the Hajj. It'll be interesting to see how many steps and miles that we do during the days of Hajj as well, inshallah. So that's an amazing effort by everybody. Jazakumullah khair. So I'll stop there. One last announcement before we close. I received a text, and we'll share this on the Telegram groups, regarding, let me just read it because it's quite a long text, about a producer from a production company based in the UK. They are shooting a video called Dream of a Lifetime for a Saudi TV channel, and they are keen to speak to pilgrims from all over the world traveling for Hajj. Filming will be limited to a few hours, won't disrupt your trip. If you're interested in speaking to them or reaching out to them and participating on as part of their TV program, you can do so. So we'll share the link with everybody in the Telegram groups, and you can, in your own time, you can reach out and see what they have to say. There's a brother who's sent that message out, and inshallah, if you're interested, you can get in touch. I think that's everything. We'll share the Imam Ghazali PDF on the groups and this text, inshallah. Shaykh Amer, if you can close with the dua. And just to say, just before I hand over back to the Shaykh for the closing dua, this is our last webinar. Just thank you for everybody who participated, who watched, who listened. And we will see you all, inshallah. The Telegram groups are obviously still open. Please keep in touch through the Telegram groups. We are going to try and have a broadcast session, package by package, with everybody, just to get the Telegram groups working, and also to share any last bit of information. So look out for those during the week, next week. We'll try and set those up. And if you can join, it'll just be a quick, 30, 40-minute session. So if anybody has any last minute questions, and just for us to practice using the broadcast channel, because we will be using that during the days of Hajj, inshallah. And yeah, we look forward to meeting everybody and serving you all in Mecca and in Medina and during the days of Hajj, inshallah. So, Shaykh Amer, if you're there, we'll have a very short closing dua, and then we'll close, inshallah, for the night.
الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليم كثيرا. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات المؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات أنت السميع القريب مجيب الدعوات رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليم كثيرا والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Okay, Shaykh, Jazakumullah khair. Okay, everybody, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.